call this meeting to order. As you know, but you may not, if you're going to speak to us or make any sort of presentation, we need you to use one of the microphones, okay? Patrick already knows that. What we will do, as we always do, is take our continuations first. There's only two matters on the agenda tonight, so I trust you'll be next but last. All right. So continuation, ARB 16-84, 44 South Ferris Street.
Patty Steinsteiner, Gotham Design and Community Development, here representing the applicant, Sarah Barnard. We've been before you before talking about this fence. I think we got it to the point where everyone was relatively happy with the design of the fence, the material of the fence, its installation. The question that came up at the last meeting was people were aware that when we did the site plan for this property, a arrangement was made with the next door neighbor, the McGuires, that once we restored the fence, we would do the full length of the fence on their property as well. So that stands. We're planning to do that. What we found with the village, that because of the strange situation where they have demapped the paper street on the Jaffrey side, but not demapped the paper street on the Barney Park side, Sarah Barnard's fence can come up to the point that we're showing on the drawing, which is up to where the pass-through is on the walkway, the traveled way. But that would not be allowed to happen on the McGuires.
On the drawing?
Sure. So we have a fence which is coming across here. This is a traveled way. There's a retaining wall that was built. The representation made back years ago was that this is a traveled way enjoyed by the community and cannot be extinguished by the construction, so it's been maintained. There's a 4-foot section minimum open here at this end. People can walk through at this end and get up to South Ferris. So because the paper street has been demapped on the South Ferris side, the fence can extend all the way to the point where we're supposed to take it. If this was on the McGuires side, the McGuires fence would have to end back here. So it wouldn't really do any good for Sarah Barnard. So the idea is to build this fence on the Barnard property and then either come back with a separate application that would be for the McGuires, which would then have a short jog off at that point and continue on the McGuires property. Or, according to Ed, his preference is that we would get an arrangement with Evie, the next door neighbor, and the fence would then continue for the length of, because they share the corner, so the fence would come all the way across on Evie's property, so it would serve both the McGuires and Evie, because Evie's fence is in bad disrepair. So everybody would have a nice new fence, everyone would be happy, and life would go on in Jaffrey Court. So that's how we're handling this. You know, this has been Ed, and I don't know if the village attorney has gotten into this yet, but or that she's going to need to now that we've got this resolution. When it was having the McGuires come up onto the paper street, it was getting very complicated.
Okay. Well, our charge here is just to approve this particular length of fence.
Yeah.
And whatever's going to happen beyond this will have to come back to us.
Exactly.
To some village entity. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Yep.
I think it's nice that you're looking forward, because on our block we have layered fences because of it, so,
Yeah.
No, it's great.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
We have to still have
I guess, yeah, I think I will make a motion to approve. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You good to go.
Thank you very much. Are you still going to do that thing that you usually do where you're nice to one person and really mean to the next?
Because of the weather, I might not.
That was, did you see him as Santa?
I do.
Coming from your mouth.
I thought that picture was great. It was in the Enterprise.
Loved it.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Okay. Next is the first and only new matter tonight, ARB 1703, 67 Sycamore Lane. Child is the name?
Yes, Ben Child, my wife Mary Lynn, we're the owners of the property. Pretty simple, we're going to do some renovations in our house. Mainly is to renovate the master bathroom and the walk-in closet. And to do that, we're planning on moving a wall about 2 feet. We could put it right in the middle of the window. Not a great idea. Our architect just thought it'd be a good idea to move it into the middle of the bedroom. A little bit odd, we have a 5-bedroom house, and the master bedroom is the only bedroom in the house that only has single windows. The other bedrooms have double windows, so we're gonna remove the single window, put it double windows right in the middle of the bedroom. A lot more light, look better, more consistency to the other rooms in the house.
Well, I didn't see any issues. I was actually pleasantly surprised to see, that the architect put the existing and the proposed elevation on the same plan to make it easy for us to see what it is you're looking to do. My only question would be, I guess, the siding that's coming out where you're putting the double windows is going to fill in where the other window's going on, so you maintain that.
Yeah, he's gonna recover somehow he's gonna recover the cedar shakes.
And the new windows are similar to the windows that are going in?
Same design, the new one's gonna be Anderson, I think the old ones are American Standard or something, but same look.
Any issues, questions?
Not for me.
Nope.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve, so.
Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So good to go.
Here you go.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You do.
And then Ed will give us a permit or something.
Yeah, you can speak to him tomorrow, he'll have this
Just in case
information
you need
tomorrow.
the
It may take a day or two for him to write up the permit, but you're good to go on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming in on this terrible night.
Yeah, well, you get to go home early.
Yeah, just a couple of issues to go over. We do have a new alternate member.
So you want to email Nancy and Julie tonight?
Yes, I would email Julie.
Staff report. I think I know her, probably her brother. Unfortunately, Larry didn't give me her contact information, so I can call her to come tonight. Needless to say. The other issue,
She's probably grateful.
yeah, solar energy legislation.
So tell us what happened.
Well, well, maybe you don't know. I mean,
I read most of the back and forth.
yeah, and the Ardsley Park Homeowners Association, for lack of the correct term, sent a letter. There were other people that sent letters referencing the fact that they didn't think we should be that the ARB should have the 9-1 taken away from us. Needless to say, the way I read the legislation, the newest legislation, it hasn't changed since the last legislation. So they obviously took everything into consideration and decided to hold firm. That's the way I see it. If I read it or see anything differently between now and then, I'll email everybody, but I don't think so.
Did you talk to Deb?
Yeah, several times, actually. She was,
Not happy.
well, she knows how her homeowners association is going to feel about it when they realize that nothing changed. The public, what's the word, just went right out of my head. The public hearing is scheduled again for February 6th, which is the next regular Board of Trustees meeting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we should be there.
I plan on it. Like I said, I will read it again to make sure it hasn't changed. I read it today, I didn't see anything, but I'm gonna actually put it side by side. The only other thing that I have to add is, you may or may not be aware that the village has created a comprehensive plan committee to look into any changes that may or may not be needed in the comprehensive plan. The actual comprehensive plan committee consists of 8 members, 5 board trustees, and the 3 heads of the ARB, the planning board, and the ZBA. But there are working groups. They've broken it down into 5 working groups. There's a downtown working group, a code modernization working group, historic Irvington working group, Broadway corridor working group, and sustainability working group. And they all have subheadings that the village board and the administration think that there's issues under all of these headings that need to be looked at specifically. Downtown working group has revitalized business district, vision for Lower Main Street, and the ever popular parking garage. And then the code modernization group is update multifamily zone and code modernization in general. Historic Irvington Working Group, encourage adaptive reuse of significant buildings, historic character, historic district, local landmarks, museums, preservation of historically significant properties. Broadway Corridor Working Group, Broadway character, and complete streets goal.
Complete Streets, is that the streets group? I was part of it one point, or is
The
that?
other thing is to adopt a complete streets policy, although it may not be unrealistic to have all roads conform to a new complete streets policy, given space constraints, those should be formalized. Sustainability Working Group, use of alternative energy, resiliency planning, and impact of climate change. So those are the working groups. This is the meeting schedule, believe it or not. These are the three highlighted are the public meetings, but there'll be a breakout, I think, late February, early March, where the subgroups will get together. I've been assigned to, I got requested, but I've been assigned to the code
Wow, look at this
code
schedule.
modernization working groups.
Wow.
Yeah, I have nothing else to do anyway. But, do you want to look at the
A lot of
schedule? It's
meetings,
pretty
huh?
aggressive.
All tons of meetings.
Well, fortunately, they don't really clash with most of anything I do, which is all very hard to believe. But anyway,
Yeah, it's intense.
yeah. So that's it.
What drove the solar energy change? Was it the Renewable Energy Committee?
No, I think what drove it is the fact that there were one or two denials.
That was it?
That's enough to get people,
But to change the code because of 2 denials? Oh, we approved a lot of work.
well, because, there were, we had two denials that were because they were front facing.
Yeah.
But there are people, specifically on the Board of Trustees, that don't feel that's a good enough excuse. Even though, as you know, what 9-1, our charge under 9-1 is to, blah, 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 yeah, maintain, and harmony and all kinds of, fancy words, but in the meantime, they don't think that that's, a good enough reason.
Really?
Yeah.
And we had, so we didn't provide enough evidence. Well, that's what we guess we have.
Well, whether we could have provided enough evidence or not was, for me, the issue.
Yeah.
I-
It's not in this village, it's in other villages where this has happened. So we have some work to do.
Yeah.
When is the meeting?
February 6th. First
Yeah,
Monday. First Monday.
It came up a lot, Ken, about the fact that nobody came. The only people that came was, I was there, you came later, and Deb came, Deb was at dinner. Deb knew she was gonna come, and, I was just letting her know. So, there was very little interest. It was a very cold night that night, but still. So.
What about
and
for the other
I think
side?
people are concerned. I don't think they realized,
Just one, Nick Connie, that was it,
Just Nikki?
pretty much. You didn't see anybody else.
Connie spoke eloquently about not having solar panels on some of the historic towns in the village. I mean, the
So it was
homes.
seen as a way of denying people possible income to counteract their financial bills. Not an unreasonable thing. to
Brian
discuss.
spoke about it, and so did I,
Mhm.
because I spoke with someone who, his field is like worldwide energy,
Yeah.
and he's kind of on the team that looks for energy companies now for startups. And, Tesla is putting out a shingle. 3M already did, but it wasn't a good one. But
Yeah,
they're coming
seen
out
it.
with their shingle like now. So it would be integral, it's glass,
Yeah,
and it would be
integrated.
integral to the roof as opposed
Photovoltaic.
to a panel that's kind of juxtapositioned on the top. And so I think in the next year or two, we're going to see so many changes that these are going to look, like antiques, so inappropriate.
Did you see the house on Broadway in Dobbsbury? I just noticed it this time. And it's a Victorian, and there's this wing on the top of the house.
Yes, yes. There's a lot of them.
I think you just have to gather the picture. And
I
get
know.
your friend, get our friends over on the historic.
Oh, I sent them a picture of that house on Ashland Avenue, does
Yeah.
That's an abomination.
Yeah.
Well, and we have
I
some
mean,
right up the street here, but I think it was good that Rick didn't use those as his example, because you don't want to offend anybody. They weren't told they couldn't do
Right,
it,
and that's why I
so,
did.
right, and it's,
Well, it's a little bit like what happened at that house down on the left side of Main Street.
Everybody said this is what's going to happen. It's that fake, everything's fake. It's just such a poorly done job.
I mean, not down at the bottom.
Yep.
And next to our building.
Yes.
I actually convinced him as we left the meeting because, we came and, I just
Yeah.
spoke to his heart, that we have a beautiful block, or we did. And I went outside and I said, could I call and try to return the shingles for you and exchange them? And I knew there might be a charge for that, of course, a restocking fee or something. And my husband and I probably would have even split that with him or something. We didn't say that, but we have the next building. We
Yeah.
tried to restore ours. We brought
Beautiful.
the windows to
Great
the
job,
period
yeah.
when we
Yeah.
bought it. We trimmed them out. So, yeah, it was a little heartbreaking to see what the library did and what we tried to do, and then, I know. But
Okay.
I just try to ignore it.
Motion to adjourn?
Adjourned.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks, guys, for coming.